Okay, so AI and education.
Hmm. Mm.
I gotta say, sometimes I'm like, is it all it's cracked up to be?
Yeah.
You know, are we really talking robot teachers taking over classrooms? Or are we just figuring out like a better spell check?
Right. I think that's on everybody's mind, like
Ah,
what is actually going on. What's so exciting is that we are moving past all the hype, though,
yeah.
and we're getting into some really practical applications of AI as a tool. And I think that's what we're really talking about here, like not AI as this thing that's going to come take your job or,
Right.
you know,
Take over the world.
take over the world, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But how can we actually use this to learn better, to teach better?
Okay, so for this deep dive, we're talking about AI literacy, but like what's on the syllabus today?
Yeah, so we are taking excerpts from a research paper by two educators, Lynette Pretorius from Monash University in Australia and Basil Cahusac de Caux. He's at the American University of the Middle East in Kuwait.
Okay.
And these two are fascinating because they both kind of went from AI skeptics to actually weaving it into their teaching.
I like it.
Yeah, and so they have some really interesting stories to tell.
That's always good. It's more convincing when it's someone in the thick of it.
Yeah.
You know, not just theorizing about what could be, but what they actually did and how it worked.
Absolutely.
So let's start with Lynette.
Okay.
What was her experience? What was her, like, aha moment with AI in the classroom?
So she found more than anything that AI could really help students improve their academic writing,
Okay.
particularly non-native English speakers.
Okay.
And so she started incorporating things like Grammarly and ChatGPT into her teaching
Mm-hmm.
and saw some pretty remarkable results.
So not AI writing the essays for the students,
Right.
but helping them to become better writers themselves.
Exactly. She would take like a student's sentence
Okay.
that was maybe a little clunky or unclear,
Yeah.
run it through ChatGPT, and then show the class, okay, this is how it improved it, and here's why.
Cool.
This is why those changes make it stronger. So it's kind of like having an on-demand writing tutor
Oh, that's awesome.
that can break down these really complex grammar rules in a way that's accessible.
And I bet that's really helpful for students who maybe English isn't their first language or, you know, even if it is, sometimes academic writing is just its own beast.
It's a different beast.
Yeah, so it's like its own language.
Totally.
So having that tool to kind of break down those barriers, I think is really cool.
And I think that highlights this really key principle of AI literacy,
Okay.
which is it's not about replacing human skills. It's about understanding how we use these tools effectively and ethically.
Okay.
Right.
So AI as a writing partner, not a ghostwriter.
Exactly.
I like it. All right. So we've got AI as like this grammar guru, but did Lynette find any other surprising applications for AI in her teaching?
So you're going to love this one.
Okay.
She started using DALL-E,
Oh, wow.
which, if you don't know, is this AI that generates images from text descriptions.
Yeah, yeah.
And she had her students experiment with it for a course on autoethnography, which is a fancy way of saying self-reflection through personal experience.
Okay, so DALL-E in an autoethnography class.
I know, right?
I would not have put those two things together. So what did that look like?
Yeah, so she basically used DALL-E to create artwork that represented her academic identity, kind of her journey as a researcher.
Interesting.
And the students were blown away.
Really?
And not just by the technology itself, but like how it can be used to explore personal narratives and these complex ideas visually.
Wow.
Yeah, it opened up this whole other dimension for them to express themselves and really engage with the course material.
That's really cool because you think of AI and you think very analytical, you think very like left brain.
Right.
But to use it in a way that is so creative and expressive and, you know, I bet that really got the students thinking outside the box.
Absolutely.
So you've got AI generating images from text prompts,
Yeah.
helping students to improve their writing.
Right.
But she didn't stop there, did she? Lynette also started using AI for data analysis.
She did. And this is where it gets really juicy.
Okay.
So she was working on this research project about the experiences of doctoral students,
Okay.
which if you've ever done qualitative research, which is often what you're doing with doctoral students,
Right.
you know, you're analyzing interview transcripts and open-ended survey responses.
data.
Tons of, and it's messy.
Yeah.
It's complicated.
It's not just numbers. It's like people's life stories condensed.
Exactly. And so she had this idea of why not use AI to help make sense of all this complex information?
Okay.
So she actually created a custom ChatGPT model specifically for analyzing this kind of qualitative data.
Hold on, custom ChatGPT model, so I can barely work the regular ChatGPT. What does that even mean? To have a custom one?
So, you know, ChatGPT is already trained on this massive amount of text data. right?
Yeah.
But you can actually fine-tune it with specific information to make it even more powerful.
Okay.
So what she did is she fed her model a bunch of research literature
Okay.
and examples related to her very specific fields of study.
So it's like giving it a crash course
Yes.
in her area of expertise.
Exactly.
Okay, and then can it like extrapolate from there?
And then it can analyze data through that very specific lens.
Wow. Okay, so did it work?
It did. In fact, she actually shared an anecdote about a student who was genuinely stunned by the AI's insights into the data.
Really?
Yeah, it had managed to connect the dots in a way that no one had even considered and sort of reveal these new layers of meaning and understanding.
Oh, that's cool. That's kind of mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Because it makes you think differently about your own research process.
Right, because even if it's not like giving you the final answer, just even having that second set of like super brain eyes
Right.
to look at the data and be like, hey, what about this?
Yeah, or maybe you overlooked this connection.
Right.
Or whatever it might be.
That's really cool.
And I think it speaks to this idea of, we were talking about AI literacy.
Yeah.
It's not just about knowing how to use the tools.
Right.
It's understanding the limitations,
Totally.
the potential biases,
Sure.
the ethical implications.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. And making sure that it's used responsibly.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've heard about Lynette in Australia,
Yeah.
but we haven't gone to Kuwait yet
We haven't visited Basil yet.
to talk about his experience because his university had a very different reaction to AI.
Very different. You see, they had a blanket ban on AI-generated text for assignments.
Whoa. Okay,
Yeah.
so none of this use it to improve your work.
Nope.
It was a hard no.
Hard no. And I think this really speaks to the anxieties
Yeah.
that I think a lot of educators have.
Right.
But Basil saw it differently.
Okay.
He was like,
Yeah.
okay, we can ban it,
Right.
but it's not going away.
It's not going back in the box.
It's not going back in the box, right?
Yeah.
And more importantly, it's not preparing students for a future where this is going to be everywhere.
Right.
So he kind of had to like swim upstream a little bit.
So how did he even begin to approach that? Because that's a big barrier.
Yeah, so he started with a lecture on digital literacy, and he introduced them to DALL-E,
Okay.
and he wanted to demystify it.
Okay.
He wanted to be like, look, this is what it can do.
Yeah.
It can be a tool for creativity. It
Yeah.
can be a tool for critical thinking.
Right. Just get those conversations going.
Exactly. And then he got really practical.
Oh, I like it.
He redesigned an assignment to actually incorporate DALL-E,
Okay.
but he gave students the option to use it
Okay.
for creating visuals for a sustainability campaign.
Very cool.
Yeah, and the students loved it.
Of course.
They're like, this is amazing.
Right.
Like, I can create these really powerful images to communicate my ideas.
It's like that visual storytelling element,
Yeah.
which can be so impactful.
Totally.
So it seems like Lynette and Basil, working in very different contexts, found that AI could really engage students. Absolutely. Spark this creativity and kind of push them to think more deeply about the topics.
And I love that you picked up on that.
Yeah.
Because they both had a very strong awareness of the ethics
Of course.
of using this technology.
Totally, right? Because we could go down a rabbit hole with that.
Oh, yeah, we could talk about the ethics all day.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So they decided, okay, we need some kind of framework.
Yeah, we need like a scaffolding
Yeah.
of how to think about this and how to apply it.
Okay, so what did they come up with?
So they identified 5 key domains of AI literacy.
5. Okay, lay it on me.
So the first one is foundational,
Foundational.
and that's the most straightforward one.
Okay.
It's really about understanding what AI is,
Okay.
how it works,
Okay.
the different types of AI tools that are out there.
So foundational AI literacy, that's like knowing the difference between, like you said, ChatGPT and DALL-E.
Yeah.
Knowing what those tools are, but you're saying there's more to it than just like knowing the names.
So much more.
Right.
And that's where the conceptual domain comes in.
Okay.
It's like, okay, you know how to use the tool,
Yeah.
but can you think critically about the information that it's giving you?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so asking things like, what are the limitations of this tool?
Okay.
What are the biases that might be baked into the data that it was trained on?
Right, because it's only as good as the information it's trained on.
Exactly.
Right.
And like, how can I evaluate its output and use it responsibly?
Yeah. We can't just take it as gospel.
No,
Right.
absolutely not.
We still have to use our own brains.
Your critical thinking skills are more important now than ever.
Totally. Okay, so conceptual AI literacy is like thinking critically about the tools and the output and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, then there's a third domain, right?
There is, and that is the social domain of AI literacy.
Social.
And this is all about understanding that AI isn't this isolated thing.
Okay.
It's changing how we interact with information technology with each other.
Right. It's changing our world.
It's changing the world.
And how we relate to it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we saw that with Lynette's students. They were having these conversations sparked by these AI-generated things. And then with Basil's students, they were thinking about real-world issues.
Yeah, and how to solve those problems together using these tools.
So really impacting the way they interact with their world and each other.
It's about collaboration. It's about creative problem solving.
Awesome. Okay, so that's social. We got to talk about the ethics, though.
We do, because that's the big one.
The ethical domain of AI literacy. That's a big one.
It's huge, especially in education. What are we even thinking about there when we talk about ethical AI?
Oh, man, like everything.
Yeah.
Data privacy.
Okay.
Algorithmic bias.
Right.
Plagiarism, academic integrity, even the environmental impact of all this AI processing power that we're using.
That's a really good point that we often forget about the actual carbon footprint of AI.
It's huge.
Yeah. So thinking about that ethical use, I mean, it seems like the question then becomes what does it even mean to use these tools responsibly?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
I think so.
And I think, honestly, this is where we need to be having these conversations.
With our students, with our colleagues, what does it look like to use AI ethically?
Because it's changing so fast, I feel like the rules are being written as we go.
Absolutely.
And how do we even keep up with that? Okay, so we've got foundational AI literacy, we've got conceptual, social, ethical, and then there's one more, right? The emotional side.
Yeah, the emotional domain.
Which seems kind of counterintuitive because we're talking about artificial intelligence, but you're saying there's a human element to this.
There is a human element, and I think this often gets overlooked, but like you said, Lynette's student was genuinely stunned.
Right.
He had a visceral reaction to what this AI produced.
Totally. AI isn't just like ones and zeros.
No, it's not.
It's evoking real emotions in people.
And I think it makes us question things like, what does it mean to be creative?
Yeah, totally. If AI can generate a painting that's indistinguishable from a human's painting, are we going to value art less, more?
Right. And who gets to decide that?
Yeah, who's the artist? Is it the AI? Is it the person who wrote the prompt?
Right. What does authorship even mean anymore?
Yeah, these are big questions, and it seems like we could do a whole nother deep dive on just that.
Oh, for sure. This is like the tip of the iceberg.
But I think what you've really highlighted here is that AI literacy, it's not just about the skills. It's about thinking critically about the implications, thinking about the ethical considerations, and even our own emotional responses to this technology.
Yeah, it's really about rethinking how we understand ourselves and the world.
In light of AI, right?
Yes.
In this new
This is blowing my mind.
I know, it's a lot. Okay, so if our listeners are like, okay, I'm convinced AI literacy is important, but where do I even start? What's our deep dive challenge for them today?
I want you to think about this. We've been talking a lot about how to use AI ethically, right?
Yeah.
But what about detection? As AI-generated content becomes more and more sophisticated.
Right. It's getting better.
How can you even tell what's real and what's not?
That's a good question.
Yeah. What are the implications for education? What does it mean for creative industries?
For our world. For everything.
For everything. The world as we know it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's quite the challenge.
It's a big one.
I like it a lot to think about, though, and I think that's what's so cool about these deep dives is that it's not about easy answers.
No.
It's about asking the right questions and then, like you said, having those conversations with other people.
Yeah. And then keep asking more questions.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep learning. Keep exploring.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
I like it. Well, on that note, thank you for another amazing deep dive.
It was my pleasure. I always love talking about this stuff.
Me too. Me too. And thank you to our listeners.
Yes, thank you.
For joining us on this journey into the world of AI and education.
Such a fascinating world.
Until next time, stay curious.